Can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. We are a little bit behind on this week's weekly tracks list video, so in order to save time, I would just like to have all of you say your proposition for the potential intro that we could use all at one time. Hello. Hey, where's that guy's shirt? It's weekly tracks list time, which means we're going to talk about some songs that I listen to, and you guys get to say, hey, I listen to those too. Or you get to say, well, now I have new things to listen to. It's really the perfect dynamic. Let's get into it. Well, if it isn't a return to form. Shinigami, although primarily associated with electronic music and trance pop hip hop, is a pretty eclectic artist when it comes to the vast array of sounds he excels in producing, and Downpour, his most recent creative endeavor, is a return to metalcore for Shinigami, a genre that over the years has been seeing less and less of the spotlight in his discography, but is nonetheless one that he can make incredibly well. Claymore, Vultures, Where Did We Go Wrong, and even the This Is Halloween cover that he did are all pretty good examples of Shinigami's proficiency in the genre, and I would say they've aged pretty well over the years. And these songs are some of my favorite from him, so seeing him make a momentary return to the sound on Downpour was pretty exciting for me to see. The song kicks off with the exact energy that I was expecting and hoping for, with a guttural and piercing scream over a punchy, saturated guitar chugging along with the chaotic intensity of a runaway train. The textured growls trading the spotlight back and forth with contrastingly smooth vocals is a pretty great dynamic for the first verse, reminding me of something that you would expect to hear on an Alasana or Famous Last Words track. It's a good place for Shinigami to be in, being entirely comfortable delivering deep growls and genuinely pleasant notes with an impressive level of comfort in doing so, and these vocals paired with the jagged and demanding instrumental act as a fantastic vessel for the melodrama that bleeds through the lyrics. Some of the imagery in the lyrics is truly fantastic and dreamy. I love the river tainted with bloodline, as well as the angels help me fall asleep bit. And to close out the track are some deep resonant growls that I've heard from him once or twice, ending what I believe to be the most, the best possible outcome for Shinigami's return to this sound. We have a galvanic track with Falling Again featuring Guardin. This song is groovy. What more can I say? Well, actually a lot, so I'm gonna say it. The slow-moving guitar bounce that cuts in and out of the beat is warm and dreamy, taking up as much room as possible in the mix to hit as hard as it can, and Galvanic's vocals are sensual and intimate, delivered with an effortless floating cadence that is just as big as the guitar. This is one of my favorite vocal performances that I've heard this year. The way Galvanic's vocals dominate the electric rock atmosphere of the track is genuinely one of the most widely appealing tracks I've heard pop up recently. The clarity in the singing and the repeated falling lyrics make this song instantly memorable on the first listen. And the ever so subtle saturation in the vocal mix makes the vocals really pop out at you, and once the booming bass and percussion kicks into full gear, this song provides a really powerful atmosphere. And then Guardin comes in. His trademark slight rasp is a pretty great contrast to Galvanic's verse, and in the context of the instrumental, almost feels like a breakdown for the track. The deep resonance of this track is dialed back a bit and gives more room for Guardin to deliver a verse with a bit of sharpness and extra clarity to it. His writing and comfort on this instrumental truly makes for one of my favorite features I have ever heard from Guardin. He really feels in the zone on this one. These artists have an incredibly entertaining dynamic together, and after listening to this song a dozen or so times for the video, I would love to hear more tracks with them together as soon as possible. It is a really refreshing sound that I think that they could take really far. I really do think that they brought the best out of each other on this track. Then we have Swaine with Income Outcome, which is the first single released after the grand conclusion to Swaine's trilogy of albums, a conceptual undertaking that most artists probably wouldn't even dare consider. But Swaine did it and executed it with pretty good success, and you'd think that after such a demanding passion project that one would take a break, but Swaine doesn't take breaks, and has already started the summer singles rollout starting with Income Outcome, which picks up where Swaine left off, rapping over punchy and hard-hitting beats with a refreshing straightforwardness, because Swaine is a barman. It's all about the rhymes and the strongly worded statements. The quick pluckiness of the main melody of the beat and the bouncy percussion is all Swaine needs in a sonic environment to let loose. It's just bar after bar, scorched earth, hammering in bars to address any doubt that you may have had over Swaine's ability and versatility. The flows are tight and the bars are intensely intelligent. And every once in a while, Swaine will sneak in a line that in a vacuum is sure to turn heads with how comical it can be, but it is always delivered with a monumental amount of confidence and conviction that it seems entirely natural and at home on the track. And with that, knowing that, if there's anything to take away from what he is spitting out here, it's that pussy turned dick and dick turns duck. We have a new murrurmur track with needlepoint. We've talked about murrurmur once or twice on the channel, the first time when discussing Applied Demonology 2, a introductory song that blew me away with its chaotic energy and abrasive cacophony of sounds, but also the tact with which it was presented. And then I quickly learned that murrurmur was more than capable of branching outside of the sound that I was initiated with, quite enjoyably so as well. Needlepoint is cute and bouncy in its production with bright stuttering keys pushing forward the main melody, as dampened chords and percussion gently crash like low tide waves, and they fill out the rest of the space. And beneath the soft and wispy vocals, the song is genuinely really catchy. The chorus has a playful and conversational tone while retaining well-made and impressive melodies. And the imagery and writing is really well done, describing a persistent feeling of dread with details of sickness and isolation. I really love the buzzing in my eardrums line, and the reference to phantom symptoms in the context of the emotional state was a pretty good bit as well. And nearing the end of the track, after a soft and warm song about some not so soft topics, murrurmur flexes some production prowess with some really interesting drum patterns and an increased intensity. This is a song that is really like easy to listen to. It's really easy to listen to. Up next, the perpetually heartbroken sweetheart Young Van is back on a Sorrowbringer beat with 222 as reinforcements. And of course, we're talking about the song I Like Being Alone, once again flexing his ability to make hooks that are not only incredibly catchy but poignant as well, summarizing the theme and concept of the song punctually and passionately. Young Van has one of my favorite natural voices of this particular scene, and when I say that, I mean that most of his mixes lean towards showcasing the organic elements of his voice, and I think that his timbre and the energy he provides works really well with this style, because even when you have like stuttering sharp trap percussion and like big cinematic chords swirling in the background, Young Van sings with an impassioned clarity that I really love hearing. And his vocals on this are pleasantly smooth, and the background vocals really help add an element of brightness to an otherwise pretty moody and dark track. Van's writing on this is vulnerable, crooning about isolation and the severance of relationships in order to maintain a distorted mental status quo. And 222's sharp and highly energetic verse provides a pretty great contrast to Van on this. After Young Van delivers smooth and consistent energy, 222 kicks it up to belt some really great notes with impressive consistency, especially in the Swallows You Whole line. Every time I think that my aversion to this sound has finally taken hold, Young Van gives me a reason to stick around. We have a new adjacent track in the form of Scarlet. After Revit 2 months ago, Adjacent is back in the production chair for a single with Scarlet. At just a minute and a half, Adjacent packs in a moody and dark energy into the confines of this track with bit crush melodies and dusty percussion. The rumbling bass and intermittent beeps make for an eerie and ghostly aesthetic, softly delivering gritty bars with an ease that seems to find itself on every single one of his tracks. And that's something that I've always really enjoyed about Adjacent's music, is that there's such a heavy focus on establishing and building an aesthetic and sound that he can call his own. His vocals are just relaxed and resonant, shaking like small 808s in the mix, and his production is half ambient, half retro, and it's a style that I think always just sounds really cool. And there's a bit of a departure from confidence on this track, trading cultural references and concrete confidence for something a little more introspective and reflective of AJ's current emotional state. The chorus is rather somber, in all honesty. I love the lyrics, but the casual flows are also a lot of fun to listen to. The Suicide Katana line into the Dying with Armor line has a great rolling transition that makes everything flow together really well. Always happy to see another great single from Adjacent. Drama Trial has delivered unto us Phil, which is a hyperspeed bullet train of an electronic track that samples the club hit Bass Down Low by Dev, Milkshake by Kellis, and a couple other songs from around the same time period. Think of this track as a nostalgic hits medley, weaving vocal chops from iconic tracks in and out of a high-energy EDM beat that cuts and punches throughout its runtime. And honestly, I love it. Not only do I really enjoy how each vocal sample is used and placed appropriately, they definitely weren't just picked at random, but the stuttering synths cutting through the mix, the wobbly and thick counter melodies, the overbearing bass, and the variation in drum patterns all combine to make a wonderfully euphonic cacophony of sonic intensity. After this track, I am most definitely Phil-pilled. And to end things out, we have Kid Mango with Oathkeeper. Seeing the growth Kid Mango has made in his endeavors with self-production has been a pretty great and wild experience, as I feel the recent self-produced tracks have given him the capacity to be as tapped in as possible, throwing out seamless and moody tracks that can be soft just as much as they can bite. The deep resonance in his mid-range vocal delivery, matched with a clean and stylistic mix, makes his vocals feel right at home with the ambience of the production. The steady, sharp percussion over the droning and smooth strings in this track make this song almost cinematic in a way, and on Oathkeeper, Mango takes the time to reflect and observe his relationships and conflicts with the people around him, and by what metrics of success that he is measured by. It almost feels kind of like a soundtrack in a way, with a certain level of thematic confidence that exudes so much confidence it almost feels like he's playing like a modern noir character, potentially troubled but nonetheless confident and sure of himself. I love the moodiness, I love the bars. Take the mango pill. And that's going to do it for this week's weekly tracks list. If you listen to any of these songs, let me know. If you're wondering why an end of the week track list is coming out on a Wednesday, keep your mouth shut. That doesn't matter. None of your business. anyways. Catch me next week, where the video, if played in reverse, reveals some hidden imagery and words that will surely spark another wave of satanic panic. Bye.